Deaths in Glenmorach Manor, a fiction novel. Written by Shirley, read by Sir Lawrence Olivier. This audiobook was narrated using synthetic voice technology provided by 11 Labs. Chapter 14. The morning air was crisp with the first hints of autumn, and the sun had risen, casting a golden hue over the sprawling estate of the Wallace family. Lord Wallace, our Viscount of Ayrshire, adjusted himself in his wheelchair, his hands gripping the silver armrests with a quiet determination. Though his legs had failed him 3 years ago, his spirit had never wavered. This morning the estate was calling to him as it often did. He had a deep connection to the land, the vineyards, the horses, and everything that had built the family legacy. Rosie, his ever-dependable caregiver, asked with a soft smile as she moved to adjust the shawl around his shoulders. "Shall we, my lord?" Her presence was a comfort to him, and as always, she was meticulous in her care. "Yes, let's go," Lord Wallace replied, his voice steady but filled with the quiet authority that made him so respected by those who knew him well. John and I were also joining the trip to visit the Wallace winery and the horse ranch that morning. While Lord Wallace preferred to travel in the family car with Rosie by his side, John and I chose a horse-drawn carriage for the trip. The rhythmic clatter of hooves echoed as a carriage rolled up the cobblestone driveway, pulled by 2 strong horses. When we arrived, the vineyard was breathtaking. Autumn had settled over the hills, painting the leaves in deep golds and fiery reds. The vines stretched in neat rows, some still heavy with the last of the season's grapes, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. The air was cool and earthy, with the faint scent of ripe fruit and dried leaves all around us. Sunlight filtered through the clouds, casting a warm amber glow over everything. It felt quiet, peaceful, even a little nostalgic. This vineyard wasn't just land. It was the heart of the Wallace estate, a place that held years of family history in every twisted branch and weathered stone. "You can see, gentlemen, everything is thriving," Lord Wallace said, his eyes scanning the rows of grapes. "The soil here has always been good, but it's the hands that work it that make all the difference. My ancestors knew how to cultivate this land." John nodded thoughtfully. "Indeed, my lord. The Wallace family has long been known for producing some of the finest wine in the country. The estate speaks for itself." Lord Wallace responded with a slight smile tugging at his lips. "The Wallace winery is renowned after all. Come, let's move on to the wine cellars." With a swift motion, Rosie gently pushed his wheelchair, and they made their way toward the imposing building where the Wallace winery stood. The winery was a breathtaking sight, a grand stone building with tall, arched windows that gave it a timeless elegance. Inside, the air was cool, carrying the rich scent of oak barrels. The deep red wine, resting in its aging casks, shimmered in the soft glow of lanterns above. Wooden barrels lined the cellar walls, each holding a carefully crafted batch, reflecting the dedication poured into every bottle. This wasn't just a place where wine was made. It was a blend of tradition and artistry. "Here we age our best selections," Lord Wallace said as he rolled past rows of barrels. "This place is where the magic happens." John ran a hand along one of the barrels, inspecting it with a careful eye. "I imagine the process is as labor-intensive as it is rewarding." Lord Wallace gave a small, contented sigh. "Indeed. But the reward is always in the bottle. The wine has its own voice. It tells a story with each sip." From there, we moved on to the horse ranch, a part of the estate Lord Wallace always adored. The sight of the stables and the open fields filled him with a quiet joy. The ranch was tucked into the farthest corner of the property, where the land stretched out in undulating hills, perfect for the horses to roam. It was a place of freedom for the animals, and the air was filled with the low whinnies and galloping hooves of powerful creatures. The horses, stately, strong, and well cared for, strolled in the pasture, their coats gleaming in the sunlight. The ranch had a variety of breeds, each one more majestic than the last. Lord Wallace's, prized with their muscular frames and smooth coats, ran in graceful circles. There was a quiet elegance in their movement, their strength a reminder of the long history of equestrian prowess that the Wallace family had cultivated. Lord Wallace said softly, his gaze sweeping over the horses. "This is my pride and joy. I have always had a deep respect for horses. They are magnificent creatures. Their strength and grace, it speaks to me." Rosie was standing by Lord Wallace's side, her eyes glistening with a mixture of admiration and nostalgia. "They remind you of all the good times, don't they, my lord?" Lord Wallace nodded, his heart swelling with emotion. "They do, Rosie. They do." He paused, looking over to John and me. "These animals have been in my family for generations. I've ridden many of them myself, back when I could." And I, as the observer, nodded silently, my thoughtful expression hinting that I understood the deeper meaning behind the Viscount's words. As the day wore on, we spent hours walking the vineyard, touring the winery, and admiring the horses. Lord Wallace shared his wealth of knowledge with us, each word infused with the pride and legacy of his ancestors. Though he was physically bound to a wheelchair, the estate was his family's, and the land itself seemed to embrace him, as if reaffirming his place within its vast, beautiful domain. We made our way toward the edge of the horse ranch. The day had taken on a golden glow, the setting sun casting long shadows across the field, making the scene even more picturesque. Through the gates of the paddock, we could see Lady Eleanor, the youngest daughter of Lord Wallace, riding gracefully atop one of the family's prized horses. Her figure, poised and confident, sat with perfect ease in the saddle, as if she and the horse were one. The wind caught in her burgundy hair, sending it flying in elegant waves behind her. It glimmered in the sunlight, rich, deep red, a shade that seemed to match the elegance of her whole being. Her face, framed by the curls of her hair, was serene and joyful. There was something magnetic about the way she carried herself, a certain nobility that transcended mere bloodlines. Lady Eleanor was a vision of grace and strength. She wore a simple yet exquisite riding outfit, a tailored jacket in deep green that accented the grace of her slender frame, paired with black riding pants that hugged her legs just so. She looked every bit the noble lady she was, her posture perfect, her movements fluid and precise. But it was her passion for the horses that shone most brightly. It was clear to anyone who watched her that riding wasn't just a pastime. It was her heart's true calling. Lord Wallace's face softened as he watched his daughter, a mixture of pride and deep affection in his gaze. He turned to John and me, his voice filled with admiration. "That's my Eleanor. Horse riding is her life. No words can truly capture how deeply she loves these animals. I've never seen anything like it." He paused, watching her again, his voice taking on a wistful tone. "She was riding before she could even walk, and she's been inseparable from the horses ever since." John smiled, clearly impressed by Lady Eleanor's natural affinity with the horse. "She's quite remarkable, my lord. It's clear she was born for it." I observed quietly, my sharp eyes taking in every detail. I noticed how Lady Eleanor's connection with the horse seemed to transcend mere skill. There was something about the way she communicated with the animal, something that felt instinctual. It was a rare and powerful bond. As if drawn by the conversation, Lady Eleanor spotted us and her father standing by the paddock. A bright smile lit up her face, and without hesitation, she guided the horse toward us with fluid ease, her posture still flawless, her movements graceful even at full gallop. The horse, a magnificent bay with sleek, muscular build, responded to her commands effortlessly, as if it, too, was proud to be in her hands. As she drew closer, Lord Wallace's expression softened further, and he greeted his daughter with warmth in his eyes. "Eleanor, darling, it's good to see you enjoying yourself." Lady Eleanor slowed the horse, bringing it to a gentle halt before them. She dismounted with the same elegance she had displayed in the saddle, her every movement a picture of grace. Her burgundy hair, now tousled slightly from the ride, framed her face in a way that only added to her beauty. She looked at her father first, then at John and me, offering her polite yet warm smile. "Good afternoon, Papa," she said, her voice soft yet full of energy. "Mr. Barnett, Mr. Owen. It's a pleasure to see you both here." She curtsied slightly to her father, a noble gesture that was more out of habit than necessity. Lord Wallace smiled, pride clearly visible on his face as he observed his daughter's greeting. "Eleanor, I just told our guest that my dear, lovely daughter has always had a special connection with horses." I smiled and threw her some compliments. "I dare say you could teach us all a thing or two about riding, my lady." Eleanor just smiled and nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Owen. You're too kind." "I think my father overestimates my abilities, but thank you for the kind words, Papa," John said, his tone respectful, though he couldn't help but be impressed by the young lady's natural talent. "Your skills are evident, Lady Eleanor. It's clear you have a gift." Lady Eleanor's eyes sparkled. "I'm fortunate to have been surrounded by horses my entire life. They teach you so much about patience, trust, and strength." Lord Wallace continued, "My dear, as you already knew, Mr. Barnett and Mr. Owen have prolonged their stay for the matter of investigating Benjamin's death and any legal matters following the incident." He turned to us as he spoke. Eleanor's face immediately turned sad as she remembered the memory of witnessing Benjamin's lifeless body that night. "How's the progress of the investigation, Mr. Owen? Has there been any improvement?" When she asked me, she looked like she might want to cry. Hearing Eleanor's question, Lord Wallace got downhearted and stated, "Everything will be revealed at the right time, Eleanor, darling. I swear to catch my son's killer and bring justice to his acts." His remarks sounded as if he was trembling from wrath and anguish. "The investigation is still ongoing, my lady. But I must apologize, as I can only share with the authorities what I've uncovered and analyzed up to this point. Rest assured I'll catch the murderer," I said to calm her down. Eleanor spoke to me, her eyes brimming with tears and hope. "I understand, Mr. Owen. I trust your instinct as a detective, and I do hope you reveal the truth and who the culprit is behind my brother's death." Just then, from across the field, another figure caught my attention. Alan Faulkner, the family's handsome and well-regarded horse trainer, approached at a leisurely pace, leading one of the horses by its reins. His presence was unmistakable, tall, strong, and radiating quiet confidence. His light brown hair was neatly combed, and the sturdy brown riding gear he wore only enhanced his rugged, attractive features. As he drew near, he removed his hat and bowed, showing his respect and greeting toward Lord Wallace and the others. "Good afternoon, my lord. I hope you've all had a chance to enjoy the estate today." Lord Wallace returned the greeting with a small nod. "Afternoon, Mr. Faulkner. How are the horses today?" Alan replied with a grin. "They're in good spirits, my lord, as usual." He looked towards Lady Eleanor, his expression softening. "Your mare, my lady, seems to be in particularly good form today." Lady Eleanor smiled back at him, her eyes lingering on the trainer for a moment longer than necessary. "She always is when you're around, Alan. I think she enjoys your company more than mine," she teased him, a hint of warmth in her tone that made the interaction seem all the more personal. "Papa, I must go back to the practice. See you at dinner tonight?" Eleanor kissed her father and curtsied to him politely. "Gentlemen, I'm afraid I must take my leave now." Eleanor smiled at us and went back to her horse-riding practice with Alan. I, as ever observant, took note of the ease between Lady Eleanor and Alan. The way they spoke to each other, so familiar, so relaxed, struck me as unusual. For a noble woman like Lady Eleanor to be so friendly, even playful, with an employee from a different social class was not something I'd seen often. It felt out of place to him, especially considering the strictures of class and propriety that ruled such relationships. But I said nothing. It was conceivable that Lady Eleanor and Alan might find themselves involved in the same circumstances that transpired between Robert and Rosie. I couldn't help but wonder why the Wallace children had always been inclined to form attachments with individuals from lower social classes. Lord Wallace will most certainly raise objections to their relationship, though I must stress that it was not a matter of discriminating on the basis of status. As the afternoon wore on, the conversation shifted to lighter topics, and the group chatted about the estate and the horses. Finally, the time has come for all of us to return to Glenmorach Manor.